Do you need money to start a business? Well, if you look at the traditional way of starting a business, it's always suggested that you need some kind of money to get started, whether that be your personal savings or friends and family or your bank manager or raising investment or getting a grant. Often business required money, even if that money was a small amount of used just to get the business up and running, not to go out and build a warehouse or a factory or a restaurant or that kind of thing. But generally, in a traditional sense, businesses needed money. But that was before the digital age and before even we had the tools available now to produce products and to test our ideas at a very, very low cost. Today, you really don't need much money to get in the game. Even if you see a business where you have to build a physical product that costs money, to start a business, you need very little. What I teach in this course is starting a business on the minimum amount of time and money available. Let's say, for example, you were building a physical product and that product cost money to actually produce. You had to go to a place like China to source a supplier. You had to order, that product in large numbers, and you had to retail that product and so on. That costs money for sure. But to actually start a business, you don't need to start there. You can start before that point. What I advise is you could find the smallest possible way to get into the game and the quickest possible way to get into the game to test your idea first. So, for example, with the idea of building a physical product, let's say that's a watch, a wearable Android watch, for example, that you want to produce in China. Is there a way that you could produce that very, very cheaply and see if people actually want that product first? Because the danger in raising money, whether that be through loans or your own personal funds to produce a product, is that takes time and, of course, money. And when you actually ship that product, then you first get feedback whether customers actually want it or not. It's all very well asking customers if they like the product, but asking them to open their wallet and buy the product is a very different matter. So one of the things we talk about in this course is the minimum viable product, which is the minimum possible product that you can produce that somebody would be willing to pay money for. So even if your watch was going to sell at $100 or $1,000, is there any way you could ship this for something that could sell for $10? Or could you use another way of raising money for the product, without actually having the product, like, for example, going to a platform like Kickstarter? The most important thing in starting a business is to start soon. So launch first and launch fast. Reduce the time it takes before you actually ship the product and maximize the time afterwards. Because if you can reduce that time to launch a product to weeks or even days, then your product cost, your launch costs are going to be reduced significantly. I see people taking months, even years, developing products and they haven't even shipped it to the customer yet. Those days are over. You can't afford to do that anymore. What you should be doing is taking your product, reducing it to that one feature or that one idea about the product that somebody would be willing to pay for, and then testing it, seeing if people will be willing to pay for that. And if people are willing to pay for it, then improving it incrementally until you sort of scale up to your original vision of what the product would be. Not starting up here with the original product vision and then having to change that and iterate it because customers don't want it. So the key here is you don't need as much money as you think to start a business. And often that's a real distraction. People who start businesses without money, maybe they start with $100. They're often the most creative. They're often the most innovative. And not having money really forces you to come up with the ideas fast and soon. And it also forces you to do things the right way. If you inject a lot of cash into a business, you get comfortable. Or maybe you do things which you don't necessarily need, like, for example, hire a PR company, that kind of thing. So don't be afraid about starting a business without any money or very little money, because often that's the way that you can start a business, and that's often the best way that you should do it.